Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving deep into a topic that can save you a ton of money and heartache down the road: car maintenance. Now, keep in mind the images you'll see in this video are just for reference. They might not be the exact year or trim level with the specific issues we're talking about. Having a car that doesn't break your bank is important if you want to generate wealth. Buckle up, because we're about to explore the top 10 car brands and models notorious for their expensive maintenance, the kind of stuff that'll have you emptying your wallet faster than you can say, check engine light. These aren't just your average oil changes and tire rotations. We're talking major component failures, complex repairs, and parts that cost more than a decent used car. Whether you're a seasoned car enthusiast or a first-time buyer, this video will arm you with the knowledge you need to steer clear of these automotive money pits. So, if you're in the market for a used car or just curious to see if your current ride made the list, stick around. You might want to grab a notepad too. This is some important stuff. Let's get started with number 10 on our list of maintenance nightmares. Kicking off our list at number 10 is the BMW X6. Now I get it, the X6 has a certain presence. It's sleek, it's sporty, it screams I've got places to be. But trust me, those places better not be too far away, because you might find yourself stranded on the side of the road more often than you'd like. One of the biggest issues with the X6, particularly the first generation, is the notorious N54 engine. This twin-turbocharged beast was plagued with problems, from high-pressure fuel pump failures to troublesome turbocharger wastegates. And let me tell you, replacing any of those components is not a cheap endeavor. We're talking thousands of dollars in parts and labor. And that's not even factoring in the electrical gremlins that seem to haunt these cars. Imagine this: your iDrive system goes on the fritz, leaving you with no navigation, no Bluetooth, and potentially even a dead battery. Suddenly, that sporty coupe-like SUV doesn't seem so appealing, does it? But wait, there's more. The X6's complex air suspension system is another potential money pit. Leaking air struts, faulty compressors, and expensive sensors can quickly turn your smooth ride into a bumpy nightmare. And if you thought we were done, think again. The X6's transmission, particularly the early 6-speed automatic, has been known to have its fair share of problems. Rough shifting, slipping gears, and complete transmission failures are not uncommon, especially on higher mileage examples. And let's not forget about the routine maintenance. From expensive brake jobs to frequent oil changes, keeping an X6 running smoothly can feel like a second job, especially if you're paying someone else to do it. Now, I'm not saying every X6 is a ticking time bomb, but statistically speaking, they're significantly more expensive to maintain than their rivals. So, unless you've got a bottomless pit of money and a mechanic on speed dial, you might want to think twice before adding an X6 to your driveway. But hey, if you're feeling lucky, go for it. Just don't come crying to me when you're staring at a 5-figure repair bill. Coming in at number 9 is the Volkswagen Touareg. Now, I know what you're thinking. Volkswagen? Reliable? Hold on a minute, Doug. And you'd be right. Volkswagens, for the most part, are known for their solid engineering and relatively affordable maintenance. But the Touareg, especially the first generation, is a different story. This luxury SUV, built on the same platform as the Porsche Cayenne and Audi Q7, was Volkswagen's attempt to compete with the big boys. But unfortunately, it seems they bit off more than they could chew. One of the biggest culprits behind the Touareg's high maintenance costs is its complex air suspension system. Just like the X6 we talked about earlier, the Touareg's air suspension is prone to leaks, faulty compressors, and expensive sensor failures. And when your air suspension goes kaput, be prepared to shell out a hefty sum to get it fixed. We're talking thousands of dollars for parts and labor, folks. And if that wasn't enough, the Touareg's early V10 TDI diesel engine was another major source of headaches. While it offered impressive torque and fuel economy, it was also incredibly complex and prone to expensive failures. From faulty fuel injectors to clogged particulate filters, this diesel engine was a ticking time bomb waiting to drain your bank account. And even if you opted for one of the gasoline engines, you weren't entirely safe. The 4.2-liter V8 in particular was known for its excessive oil consumption, which, if left unchecked, could lead to catastrophic engine damage. But the Touareg's problems don't end there. Electrical gremlins, transmission issues, and even issues with the all-wheel drive system have all been reported by owners. It's like Volkswagen took all the potential problems from its other models and crammed them into one luxurious yet unreliable SUV. Now, I'm not saying that every Touareg is a lemon, but statistically speaking, they're significantly more expensive to maintain than their Japanese and Korean rivals. So unless you're a glutton for punishment, or you've got a team of Volkswagen mechanics on retainer, you might want to steer clear. Alright guys, coming in at number 8 on our list of cars to avoid for high maintenance costs is the E65 generation BMW 7 Series. Produced from 2002 to 2008, this car was BMW's flagship luxury sedan, and they really went all out with the technology. I mean, this car was loaded with cutting-edge features for its time. For instance, it was one of the first cars to feature iDrive, BMW's infotainment system. While iDrive has evolved over the years back then, it was notoriously complex and unintuitive to use. I mean, it had this big clunky dial in the center console that controlled everything from the navigation to the climate control, and don't even get me started on the voice control. But the technology wasn't just limited to the interior. The E65 7 Series also had things like active suspension, electronic parking brake, and even night vision. All of these features were pretty groundbreaking for the early 2000s, but they came at a cost. And I'm not just talking about the initial price tag. See, the problem with packing a car full of so much technology is that it creates a lot of potential points of failure. And when something does go wrong, which it inevitably will on a car this complex, getting it fixed can be a real pain, not to mention expensive. So, while the E65 7 Series may have been an impressive feat of engineering for its time, its reliability issues and high maintenance costs make it one to avoid on the used market. One of the biggest culprits for high maintenance costs on the E65 7 Series is the suspension system. Now, in fairness, this car was designed to deliver a smooth, luxurious ride, and the suspension system does a pretty good job of that, when it's working properly, that is. The problem is, the E65 suspension is incredibly complex. We're talking about a system with multiple control arms, air springs, and electronic dampers, all working together to keep the car level and comfortable. And as you can imagine, with so many moving parts, things are bound to wear out and break. And when they do, be prepared to shell out some serious cash for repairs. Replacing even a single air strut can set you back over $1,000. And if you need to replace the entire air suspension system, you could be looking at a repair bill that's higher than the car's current market value. And that's not even factoring in the cost of labor, which can be just as exorbitant. So if you're considering buying an E65 7 Series, make sure you factor in the potential cost of suspension repairs. It might just make you think twice about pulling the trigger. Now let's talk about that infamous iDrive system. As I mentioned earlier, the iDrive system in the E65 7 Series was notoriously complex and user-unfriendly. And while it did offer a lot of features for its time, it also had a tendency to malfunction. And when it does, it can be a real nightmare to deal with. Imagine this, you're driving down the road, and suddenly your navigation system crashes, your radio stops working, and your climate control goes haywire. That's the kind of chaos a malfunctioning iDrive system can unleash. And getting it fixed, well, that's a whole other story. Because the iDrive system controls so many of the car's functions, diagnosing and repairing problems can be incredibly time-consuming and expensive. You're essentially at the mercy of a BMW technician who needs to decipher the cryptic error codes and navigate the labyrinthine menus of the iDrive system. And trust me, their hourly rates aren't cheap. So while the iDrive system may have been a technological marvel in its day, its unreliability and high repair costs are just another reason why the E65 7 Series is a car best admired from afar. Coming in at number 7 on our list is the first-generation Volkswagen Touareg. Produced from 2004 to 2010, this was Volkswagen's attempt to break into the luxury SUV market. They did a pretty good job with the design and features. The Touareg offered a luxurious interior, powerful engine options, and impressive off-road capabilities, but it had potential mechanical issues that could turn your dream SUV into a financial nightmare. Its complexity was one of the biggest problems. Advanced features like air suspension and a V10 diesel engine added complexity and high maintenance costs. Volkswagen parts aren't cheap, leading to hefty repair bills. The air suspension system was particularly troublesome and expensive to repair. The V10 TDI engine was powerful but complex and prone to problems. Repairs for this engine were astronomical, making it a risky proposition. Unless you have deep pockets, it's best to steer clear of used Touaregs with these features. Alright guys, we're halfway through our list, and at number 6 we have a vehicle that needs no introduction. The Range Rover, specifically the third generation model, produced from 2002 to 2012. Now, the Range Rover has always been synonymous with luxury, off-road capability, and, well, let's just say, character. And this generation was no exception. It was the first Range Rover to be developed under BMW's ownership, which meant it benefited from some of the German automaker's engineering prowess, but it also had a nasty habit of breaking down. A lot. And when it did, the repair costs could be eye-watering. So, while the allure of luxury and off-road prowess might be tempting, the third-generation Range Rover's reputation for unreliability and high maintenance costs should give any potential buyer serious pause. Unless you have deep pockets and a high tolerance for repair bills, it's best to steer clear of this particular model. And here we are at number 5, the BMW 7 Series. Now I know what you're thinking. The 7 Series really? It's a luxurious car. It's gotta be reliable, right? Well, not so fast. You see, the 7 Series represents the pinnacle of BMW engineering. It's got all the bells and whistles, all the fancy technology, and all the complexity that comes with it. And while that might sound impressive on paper, in the real world, all that complexity translates into one thing: high maintenance costs. I'm talking eye-watering repair bills, especially as these cars age and things start to go wrong. And trust me, with a 7 Series things will go wrong. Just take a look at the suspension system, for example. Air suspension is a common feature on these cars, and while it might provide a super smooth ride, it's notorious for being expensive to fix. And that's just one small example. From the complex electronics to the high-performance engines, owning a 7 Series out of warranty is like signing up for a recurring subscription to your mechanic's kid's college fund. You're basically just funding their future with every repair bill. Now let's talk about BMW's iDrive system for a moment. It's the central control system for all the car's functions, from navigation to entertainment to climate control. And while it's come a long way over the years, it's still known for being a bit, shall we say, quirky. And by quirky, I mean it can be slow, unresponsive, and sometimes just plain confusing to use. But here's the real kicker. When the iDrive system acts up, and believe me it will, diagnosing and fixing the problem can be a nightmare both in terms of time and money. You're talking about specialized software, specialized technicians, the whole 9 yards. It's not just a simple matter of replacing a fuse or a relay. And let's not forget about the potential for electrical gremlins in these cars. German engineering is renowned for its complexity, but that complexity can sometimes come back to bite you, especially when it comes to electrical systems. Faulty sensors, wiring issues, you name it, the 7 Series has probably seen it all. And if all of that wasn't enough to scare you away from a used 7 Series, let's talk about depreciation. Luxury cars in general are notorious for depreciating quickly, and the 7 Series is no exception. You're looking at a steep decline in value, especially in the first few years of ownership. So not only are you facing potentially high maintenance costs, but you're also losing a significant chunk of your investment as the car gets older. It's a double whammy that can really put a dent in your wallet. So unless you have deep pockets and a high tolerance for potential repair bills, I'd steer clear of the 7 Series, especially if you're looking for a used car. There are plenty of other luxury sedans out there that offer a more balanced combination of performance, comfort, and reliability without the financial headaches that can come with owning a BMW 7 Series. Coming in at number 4, we have the Volkswagen Touareg. Now, the Touareg might seem like an odd choice for this list. After all, it's a Volkswagen, right? A brand known for its practicality and affordability. Well, the Touareg is a bit of a different beast. It's Volkswagen's attempt at a premium SUV, and while it might have some good qualities, it also comes with some quirks that can lead to expensive maintenance and repairs. One of the biggest issues with the Touareg, especially older models, is the air suspension system. It's similar to the system we talked about with the BMW 7 Series, and it's just as prone to problems. Air leaks, compressor failures, faulty sensors, you name it. The Touareg's air suspension has probably seen it all. And when those problems do occur, get ready to shell out some serious cash for repairs. Another area where the Touareg can be problematic is the engine. Volkswagen has used a variety of engines in the Touareg over the years, including some rather complex diesel options. While these engines might offer decent fuel economy and performance, they can be a nightmare to maintain and repair, especially as they age and accumulate mileage. And don't even get me started on the emission systems on the diesel models. They're notoriously sensitive and prone to problems, and fixing them can be like trying to solve a Rubik's Cube blindfolded, expensive, and frustrating. And let's not forget about the Touareg's all-wheel drive system. While it's great for tackling tough terrain, it also adds another layer of complexity that can lead to expensive repairs down the line. From differentials to transfer cases to drive shafts, there are a lot of components that can wear out or break, especially if the vehicle is frequently driven off-road. And just like the BMW 7 Series, the Touareg is not immune to electrical gremlins. Modern cars are packed with electronics, and the Touareg is no exception. From the infotainment system to the power seats to the various sensors and modules that control everything from the engine to the brakes, there are a lot of things that can go wrong. And when they do, diagnosing and fixing the problem can be a time-consuming and costly process. You're talking about specialized diagnostic equipment, wiring diagrams that look like they were designed by NASA, and potentially having to replace expensive electronic components. So, while the Volkswagen Touareg might offer a tempting blend of luxury and off-road capability, it's important to be aware of the potential maintenance and repair costs before you buy one. It's not a vehicle for the faint of heart or for those on a tight budget. All right, folks, we've reached the top three, and coming in at number 3 is a name synonymous with both luxury and unreliability: the Range Rover. Now, I know what you're thinking. The Range Rover is a status symbol, a vehicle that exudes sophistication and off-road prowess. And you'd be right, to a certain extent. But beneath that veneer of luxury lies a complex and often troublesome beast that can turn your dreams of opulent adventures into a financial nightmare. One of the biggest culprits behind the Range Rover's less-than-stellar reputation is its air suspension system. Yes, you heard that right. Air suspension rears its expensive head once again. It seems like every luxury car maker out there is obsessed with this technology despite its well-documented shortcomings, and the Range Rover is no exception. Air leaks, compressor failures, sensor issues, you name it, the Range Rover's air suspension has probably experienced it all. And when these problems occur, be prepared to shell out some serious cash for repairs. But the air suspension is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to potential problems with the Range Rover. These vehicles are notorious for electrical gremlins that can manifest in a myriad of ways, from flickering lights and malfunctioning infotainment systems to complete electrical shutdowns. And let's not forget about the engine issues that have plagued some Range Rover models. From oil leaks and timing chain problems to complete engine failures, there have been enough reported issues to make even the most optimistic car enthusiasts think twice. And when it comes to repairs, Range Rovers are not known for being kind to your wallet. Parts are expensive, labor rates are high, and the complexity of these vehicles means that even seemingly simple repairs can quickly spiral into bank-breaking endeavors. And as if the potential for expensive repairs wasn't enough, Range Rovers also suffer from significant depreciation. Luxury SUVs in general tend to lose their value quickly, and the Range Rover is no exception. So, not only are you risking hefty repair bills, but you're also likely to take a substantial hit when it comes time to sell or trade in your once majestic off-road chariot. So, unless you have an unlimited budget and a team of dedicated mechanics on speed dial, I'd approach the Range Rover with extreme caution. Coming in at number 2 on our list of cars to avoid like a parking ticket on your windshield is the insert make and model. Now I know what you're thinking, insert make and model. But Doug, those are supposed to be reliable, and you wouldn't be entirely wrong. However, there's a catch. While the insert make and model might have a reputation for reliability in some circles, it also has a laundry list of potential issues that can turn your ownership experience into a financial nightmare. We're talking about problems that could make you miss out on crucial things like, a week-long test drive of a limited edition Lamborghini. One of the biggest culprits is insert specific common and expensive issue. This thing is about as common as finding a parking spot right in front of the coffee shop on a Saturday morning. And let me tell you, getting it fixed is not for the faint of wallet. We're talking potentially thousands of dollars in parts and labor. And don't even get me started on the insert another common and expensive issue. It's like they designed this thing to fail prematurely, just to keep those mechanics employed. Seriously, who needs that kind of stress in their life? But it's not just the big ticket items that'll drain your bank account with the insert make and model. Even routine maintenance on this thing can feel like you're paying for a down payment on a small island nation. Oil changes? Forget about doing it yourself unless you've got a degree in mechanical engineering and a garage full of specialized tools. And the parts? Well, let's just say they don't exactly grow on trees. You'll be shelling out top dollar for even the most basic components, all while trying to convince yourself that you're not being completely ripped off. And then there's the whole issue of finding a mechanic who actually knows how to work on these things. It's like trying to find a unicorn riding a Segway through a crowded mall. Sure, they're out there, but you're going to have to search high and low to find one. And even when you do, be prepared to pay a premium for their expertise. It's like they know you're desperate and they're not afraid to charge accordingly. So, what are the alternatives if you're looking for a car in this segment but don't want to risk financial ruin? Well, you could always go for the insert reliable alternative make and model #1. It's got a similar look and feel, but without the constant threat of bankruptcy hanging over your head. Or, if you're looking for something a little sportier, the insert reliable alternative make and model #2 is a solid choice. It's got a bit more pep in its step, and you won't have to worry about your mechanic putting his kids through college on your dime. The point is, there are plenty of other fish in the sea when it comes to reliable and affordable cars. Don't fall into the trap of thinking the insert make and model is your only option. Trust me, your bank account will thank you for it. And hey, maybe you'll even have some money left over for that Lamborghini test drive. And here we are, folks, the moment you've all been waiting for. The top spot, the creme de la creme, the reigning champion of cars to avoid if you value your hard-earned money, the insert make and model. This, my friends, is not just a car, it's a black hole of automotive expenses disguised as a mode of transportation. Now, I'm not one to shy away from a car with a bit of character, even if it means a few extra trips to the mechanic. But the insert make and model takes things to a whole new level. It's like they designed this thing with the sole purpose of bankrupting its owners. But what makes this car such a financial disaster, you ask? Well, where do I even begin? Let's start with the engine, shall we? This thing is about as reliable as a weather forecast in a hurricane. We're talking catastrophic failures, head gasket issues that'll make you weep, and oil consumption that would make even the thirstiest SUV blush. And don't even get me started on the transmission. It's like they took a bunch of gears, threw them in a blender with a handful of loose change, and hoped for the best. Shifting problems, slipping gears, complete and utter failure. You name it, this transmission has probably experienced it. But wait, there's more. The insert make and model also boasts a suspension system that's more fragile than a house of cards in a wind tunnel. Expect to replace bushings, ball joints, and control arms more often than you change your socks. And if you thought that was bad, just wait until you have to deal with the electrical gremlins. This car is a walking, talking, well, not literally, electrical fire hazard, with wiring harnesses that are more prone to shorting out than a teenager's prom night plans. In short, the insert make and model is a veritable minefield of potential problems, each one more expensive than the last. It's the kind of car that will have you checking your bank balance more often than you check your social media feeds. So, unless you have a spare fortune lying around and a masochistic desire to spend all your free time at the mechanic's shop, I implore you, steer clear of the insert make and model. There are plenty of other cars out there that will provide you with reliable transportation without turning your life into a financial horror show. Trust me, your wallet will thank you in the long run. Well, there you have it, folks. Our list of the top 10 car brands to avoid if you don't want to be constantly shelling out cash for repairs. Remember, buying a car is a big decision, and it's important to do your research and choose wisely. Don't just focus on the sticker price. Consider the long-term costs of ownership, including maintenance, repairs, and fuel efficiency. A little bit of research up front can save you a lot of headaches and financial stress down the road. Thank you for watching. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more informative videos. Stay tuned for our next video where we dive into more car-related topics.